Hello, everyone. We are here together with Monica Martin, embodied mystic, teacher of
Mhm.
teachers, and I'm so excited to have her on here. She's a member of the Singularity Circle, and when we first met, it was in Jenna and Jordana's group on Facebook,
Mhm.
and she was studying East West merging of mind body, and I was like, I need to talk to this lady. And then we get on a tea call, we get on a tea chat on Skype, and her energy was so grounding.
Mm.
And she said, I'm a Scorpio, and I'm like, I'm a Sag, no wonder.
Right.
Because even like her background, and even for today's call, she's behind a tree, and she has this very beautiful gift of grounding you in her presence. And that's what she teaches, really, is combining, your left, your right, your this, your that, into it's,
Mm.
quiet, centering, and then taking action. I just want to take a deep breath now. From that aligned space. So she's been up to some amazing things. But before we get to how she's transforming consciousness and the world and shifting paradigms, I want to talk a little bit about how you got here and what
Mhm.
has led you to studying what you're studying, teaching what you're teaching,
Yeah.
and creating the community that you're now creating.
Yeah. Thank you, first of all, for having me. I'm really, really excited. And to talk about my journey, it's been a really fascinating life experience of developing it. And I really do go all the way back in everything that you're talking about, of me being so grounded and so centered. The childhood in my home that I grew up in, I always kind of felt like I was the eye of the storm. Like my background and experience, I've experienced physical and emotional abuse, and coming into myself was the way that I grounded, was the way that I held the container, and how I could feel into everyone and everything and track. Like I said, like that's my superpower that I got
Yes.
from my
Yes.
childhood, was that I learned how to read energies and how to track even emotions and thoughts and stuff like that, and physical, physiological. And so some people, they dissociate when that happens when they grow up, but my gift and my resource was actually going inside. And so that has been a lot of my journey and a lot of my process. And so where I've come to here was, a lot of education. I'm a teacher and a student. I was a teacher at high school for about 6 years, and I loved teaching. And I got to one point where I just grounded myself like into complete burnout. I was taking on extra classes to teach. I was advising and moderating the yearbook, so I was doing lots of pieces, and so I ended up taking a sabbatical, and I just grabbed everything I can get my hands on about psychology and philosophy and spirituality, and everything that I read was like, I'm like, well, yeah. It's like I was reading it for the first time, but knew it. Like I knew it. Like even when I was reading the Transcendentals when I was in high school, like I grew up Roman Catholic, but I'm like, there's this bigger energy, this bigger thing, especially when it comes to nature. Like I commune with the rain, and I commune with that. Like that's how I connect in with the world, Mama Gaia. And so when I left teaching, I knew I wanted to go and move into something that connected into mind, body, and spirit. And I had no clue what it was going to look like. I just knew, like every part of my being was like, I know where I'm going, I know where
Yes.
it's going to be, but I don't know the details. And so I guided myself through a lot of felt sense. I had to experience things. I took a ton of workshops, a ton of classes, to figure out what pieces were really what it was. So I became licensed as a massage therapist, so I could learn all about the physical body. And then I continued on to a holistic psychology program. I got my master's at JFK because it brought in the body and as well as the mind. And I was a little disappointed. Um, and it was interesting because we finally took a class about body oriented therapy. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is the class. This is
Yes.
it. Yes. And then we were taking this class, and it was still treating the body like as an object. And what I mean by that is like it's watching your client and the person that you're working with, you're connecting in with, and you're watching their body cues. You're tracking them in a different way, which is important. But what I knew where I was going was teaching people how to get into their bodies. Yeah, exactly. How to
Yeah.
explore those like little subtle cues, because to me, the body is like this magical and amazing, like just huge field of the unconscious. And it holds our emotions, it holds our memories, it holds our stories, as well as all the energetics. And I was just talking to a colleague of mine, and all of this work that I've been doing on myself and so much personal growth, as far as like changing my mindset and healing old patterns that no longer serve, that I no longer believe in, as well as moving it out of the body. There were certain pieces that would still get triggered, and it was because there's these deeper, almost primal energies. So that's when the spirituality and the emotions come in, of going into meditation and shifting the energy that's all connected, and it all culminates inside the body and the tissues. Um, so when I finished my master's program, I went immediately, like literally, like I graduated my master's program on a Saturday or Sunday, and then Monday was my orientation into my PhD program. I kid you not. And I found a program that is East West psychology, and so I already started learning about the body and then the mind, and now I wanted, how do you bring in the spirituality, that it's all integrated and it's all in integrity. Like integrity is what keeps coming to mind, because it's like this really beautiful balance and this dance they all do together. And my research specifically is trauma, and my dissertation that I'm working on is talking about how trauma is a catalyst for spiritual embodiment and spiritual growth. And I just paused because that's just so juicy.
I'm just like breathing that in, just be like, yes.
Yeah. And it's what my own lived experience is: when a traumatic event occurs, like everything gets stopped, like everything. And so in that moment, you can pause and you can choose. And what I mean by choosing is I went through an intense tragedy last October. We lost my boyfriend's son in a sudden car accident, and it was the trauma response and the grief, where everything was just surrender, and everything connected us. Everything just came down to, in the moment, what do you need, what do you want, and coming back to that, simplifying and disconnecting from the societal, the stigmas, the what we should be doing, what we have to do, and coming back to our physical bodies connected me back to spirit. It connected me into trust. It connected me into like, how much can I surrender, and really like look at what's going on right now. And what happens, what I believe, is when people resist that moment of reflection and really taking care of themselves, is that these patterns start to create, as far as the hypervigilance and the dissociation, because it's too intense and it's too emotional. And it's learning how to use the body as a tool and to work with it as opposed to against it. And so that's where I'm at. That's when you found me.
Yes. And then I found her, and then we just connected, and then I told her about the singularity circle and how I want to summarize that essence of what you're doing into something that, from the content you create, from your presence online, in person, and internally, people get that. And we use technology to share that story more with others and position you as the resource that you truly are, because you've gone through it, you're studying it, you're implementing it, you're embodying, you're teaching.
Yeah.
Now it's using technology to have like everyone from around the globe that has internet access
Right.
to have access to your brain.
Right.
You know?
And as you're talking, one thing that kept coming up to me is that my process is all about an inside out process. So it's starting from the inside and then reaching out and connecting. And the fascinating thing with technology is I watch these like beautiful, amazing, like holistic and spiritual entrepreneurs shifting from like who they are. And when they shift into the online world, they get fragmented, because they immediately shift too fast into going outside of themselves, as opposed to the more they connect in with themselves. Because to me, technology and internet and space and time is an illusion. So when I get on calls like you and I right now, like we're really connected. Like I can track and I can energetically connect in with you, and it's teaching others how to do the same thing. Like even though you're on the phone or you're on a video and you're connecting in a much different way, you can connect your presence, and you can still like tap into what each person's feeling and what's going on, and it's just adding all these tools and these resources. So yeah, it's really, really cool.
I love that you said it's an illusion, because it totally is. And that's what, singularity, what I teach is who you are inside is who you are outside, is who you are online. And there is no difference. It's only now what I'm seeing, and I think we discussed this before, is technology is evolving so quickly, but we as humans are not emotionally evolving as fast as
Right.
technology. And then we see all of these tragedies, all these negativities, all these, internet trolls and things as
Yeah.
just manifestations of a hurt and traumatized subconscious.
Yeah.
And then we react to those. So the more we become in alignment with that and the work that you're doing with people, the more you go on Facebook or you go on Twitter and you're like, I am excited to be connecting with other human beings today, instead of like, I don't want to see my news feed, I'm going to filter out this, I'm going to filter out that.
Right. Oh yeah. No, absolutely. What you're talking about is closing yourself off and protecting yourself. And when you talk about the trolls and you talk about the trauma, and especially like the state of our world right now it's really volatile. And the way I look at it, my belief is like all these pieces that are coming up are all the shadow stuff that we have not addressed and looked at. And unfortunately, some mindset is just to shift your mindset and to change it as opposed to really looking at it. And because honestly, I completely believe that all of that stuff is a byproduct of our collective state of being. And so we're all a part of like the non-duality. It is a part of ourselves. It is an outreach and an extension of who we are. And so instead of shunning it and changing it and shifting it and cutting it off, how can we really look at it and transform it? What's it really trying to say and communicate to us that we're not ready or not wanting to look at? But yeah, and looking at the trauma waves, like trauma is so like the ripple effects, like the vicarious, it's so impactful on the conscious level. And so that's why trying to heal it is so important right now, because you heal it as an individual first. And the hard thing is as you heal as yourself, of changing the collective and changing everyone else you come into contact with without getting pulled back into the terror and the fear, because it's a real intense fear-based society out there. And how can we engage differently? How can we
Yes.
choose differently? Yeah.
Yes. And how, because now you're studying, you're doing, and you're now using technology, and now you're on the summit. How can people work together with you or cultivate or integrate an experiential intuition as a
Yeah.
daily practice? How can someone do this, individually first on their own, and then is there a community that they can join? Is there some action that they can take today after listening to this, or maybe they're on a replay and they're watching this, that they
Yeah.
can implement today?
So I just started a Facebook group that I'm really excited about. It's called the Phoenix Collective Experience: Aligned, Embodied, and Inspired Entrepreneurs. And I'm really excited about it because my intention in creating this group was not to be like all the other kinds of groups that are out there for spiritual entrepreneurs. I really wanted to create an experiment, honestly. And it's teaching people how to hold the container. What does that mean? And to create within our like little experiential, like a petri dish almost.
Yes, yes, yes.
Is to invite in like all of these, how can you experiment and play with things? And so creating the safe space within ourselves, so then we could take it out to the external world. And one of the things that I'm preparing to create, starting on the new moon, which is August 2nd, is an actual a full month challenge of how to follow the lunar cycles in setting the intention and feeding it and nurturing it and doing it in a way that is really aligned, So I'm going to create exercises that include the body and the somatics, and includes ritual, and includes all the mind. And so these pieces, like, really, it's playing. How do we play with it? And the one thing that kept coming to me is how important it is to reconnect with the natural cycles of the earth. Because the last couple moon cycles, I was watching, like, colleagues, I'd check in with them, and then all of a sudden, like, on the new moon and then the full moon, everyone was like sleeping for days. I'm like, okay.
Yes, yes.
Right? I'm like, there's a reason why, if we actually go with the flow of energy, it helps us to create this container that the other pieces can come up. And so what I mean by that is when we're doing things that are out of alignment with ourselves, which is also out of alignment with nature, we're bumping up against it, and it becomes really hard, as opposed to letting it come up naturally. And then you have more space, you can breathe, you can be more curious, you're not as constricted in doing those things. And so coming into that group would be like the first action that somebody can do to really hook in with me and be part of, like, this experiment that I'm really excited about. And I'm just in awe. I put the invitation out, and I've just started, and the people who are showing up in this group they're amazing. And it shows, like, the power of intention. Like, before I even created it, even before I opened the circle, like, I held in my mind I wanted this to be. And I didn't want it to be like normal. I didn't want to be like everything's out there, because the other thing, as we were talking about technology, the way I look at technology is that each different like social media, whether it be Facebook or YouTube, I look at it as it's a portal. Yes. It's a different portal that you can connect in with others. Like, like, I almost see like this little vortex. Like,
you're going inside the little vortex, and you get to choose from all these ones, whether it's words or video or photography, and you get to choose which one to play in.
Exactly. And not only do you get to choose which one, but you get to choose how to do it. And when I opened up this group, it was just a couple weeks ago, as soon as I opened the doors, I got this flashback memory. I was so excited. Like, when I was teaching, because I taught at a Catholic private school, which I didn't adhere to all their beliefs and the way of doing things. But what I loved is that once we shut the door, like, that was our space. Like, that was our container. And I had this moment, like, the day I opened the group, I'm like, oh my God, like, this is our space. This is our classroom. And so what it looks like out there is what they're doing, but what we're going to do in here is like, ooh, what are we going to create in here? So I'm really, really kind of excited to nurture it and to grow it, and to hold that space for others so they can nurture it and grow it as well. And just like the transformation in creating a safe space is so, like, amazing, and it's so just important, first and foremost. So yeah.
So good. I love that, the moon project that you're working on. That sounds like a lot of fun, and I'm seeing now the more people connect within themselves and also look at cycles of life, look at seasons of life, instead of running away from those and resisting those, playing within those.
Exactly.
It's less resistance, it's more ease. Yes. And now with technology is just being very, very mindful and, like, bringing back that mindfulness, right? Because we forget, because we've been, especially in Western American society, where we have, like, whatever we want, whenever we want, seasonal fruits or veggies, we don't care. They're global now. Being still mindful of our surroundings and our roots of where we are, and playing within those.
Absolutely, that is so true. When you mentioned seasons, that's what I want to eventually evolve into, of running programs according to seasons. Because one of my like little pet peeves is, like, winter time is the time for hibernation, and it's time for fasting and simplifying, when the world kind of goes into this dormant place, so we can recharge and we can tap in and let go of what needs to let go of. But the holiday season is all about, like, connecting and parties and food and sugars. And so no wonder why so many people are sick, and they're really, really tired. And so when January comes, like everyone's out of commission because we're going the opposite. And there is like this natural flow of things. Like you look at it within the container of, like the way I teach, and I teach my group programs as well, is like if you have a kid and you show them this is the fenced in area and you can do whatever you want in this area, they actually have more creativity and more freedom, as opposed to dumping them in an open field. Because they'll look around and like orient, is this okay? Can I do this or not? But there's a reason why when you have these containers and you're really clear about what's going on and what's happening, there's more freedom. So it's really, really just exactly what you're talking about, of going in with flow and going in with ease, and really being able to tap in to the natural state of like our physical being, which all aligns with our mental and our psychological as well as our spiritual alignments, which is beautiful.
Yes. And I like this integration that I'm seeing now, and this evolving of society and culture here in the West with I'm going back to the polarities of masculine and feminine energy, but also acknowledging that it's still a construct in a way, because I have friends from all different gender spaces and fluidity and this, but it's still understanding the paradigm that we're in is still like there's the container and there's water inside, and not acknowledging that those exist first before then exploring like space around it and like the molecules that make those things. If we don't have that foundation, we can't move together as a collective into this new space where anything really is possible. And then you go into the field and then you don't have any doubts about what I can do. You're just playing consciously in that open field.
Totally. And I completely agree with you with the terminology. I use them with hesitation because they capture what it means, but it's the concept. It's the feminine is also the yin in Chinese medicine, which is the intuition, the softer place. It's the potential energy. It's where everything starts to incubate. And then the masculine is the yang, which is the external. It's bringing the inside and the out, and they all balance like beautifully together. Like you can't just be a doer, externalize. And you also can't just go sit and meditate and everything's all good. It's right. I was watching a study, actually a talk by the Dalai Lama a couple of weeks ago, and even the Dalai Lama, and I love him. He was just saying that he's like, you need action. He's like, you can't just sit and meditate for hours upon hours and think that's going to change things. It's the meditation first with the aligned action, and you bring it all together, and they balance each other. So,
yeah. Oh, this is so good. Always great conversing with you. And if people want to reach out to you and connect with you, where can they find you? Online, offline, on all spaces?
On all spaces. So the Phoenix Collective Experience, the aligned, embodied, and inspired group is one of the biggest ways. The other way is I have a website, monicamartin.org. Which has all of my service. I do one-on-one work, but what I'm really moving more into is to teach people how to teach, and what the teaching is, and it'll have all this on the website. But it's teaching people how to teach transpersonally, and to do it in a very experiential and embodied way. Because like we were talking, like words and concepts and language to me are just tools. The actual embodying the lessons and experiencing what's happening is really where the juice is at. Like if you can, the most profound classes that I've taught and that I've been part of have been so simple, but the experiential and the embodiment part. And so it's teaching people how to shift very differently how they engage in the world. So monicamartin.org is the website, and then the Phoenix Collective Experience is my group. Come on over and play with me. I would love to have you.
Beautiful. Thank you again, Monica, for your time today and for sharing your experience, your research, what you're playing in, and then what you're inviting us also to embody. And for anybody that you've experienced Monica now, she embodies. So if you're wanting to learn more about embodying and more of just being, the
Yeah.
teacher, being the creative, being the conscious entrepreneur, definitely reach out to Monica. She's a fantastic resource, super down to earth, and thank you again so much for your time today.
Thank you so much. It was, oh, I just enjoy talking with you, our tea times together.
Yes. Beautiful. Well, enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll continue to see each other on the summit and online.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, sweetie.